Hi, everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper as the talk show host for GBA, and I'm also CryptoMom2. So definitely follow me on CryptoMom2 and definitely like and subscribe on the GBA talk show as well. So I have been doing a variety of talk shows, so I'm not going to really introduce myself, but for those that are new to the GBA talk show, I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I am an attorney and I'm also a special educator, and I'm also a blockchain consultant as well as an author. And today I actually have a guest on who introduced me to GBA, and I'm extremely thankful for him for doing that. And he's also has a diverse background. He's an attorney, he's an author, and he's also a blockchain consultant and so much more. So I'm going to have Eric introduce himself, and then we're going to be talking about his projects. And some of the projects might overlap with what I'm doing, and some of them will be different. But I'm really excited to have him on the GBA talk show. I've had him on a few times on CryptoMom2, and our discussions have always been exciting and diverse, and have always been thought-provoking. So welcome, Eric. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very good. Thank you very much.
So why don't you go ahead and share with everyone who might be a GBA member, but really might not know you, what your background is, because that sort of propelled you into this space. And I think it's really important for them to know your rich history.
Right. So I'm an attorney by trade, and I went to Morehouse College and Columbia Law School. And I was primarily practicing labor and employment law. Then in 2017, I learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and I realized it was going to be a paradigm shift for our generation. The last one was the internet in the 1990s. I had missed that one in terms of being involved. I was not going to miss this one. So not only did I become an investor in the 2017 timeframe, I also became an expert. I started to study it profusely. I started to train and then write a book on it, which is Blockchain or Die, Amazon #1 bestseller. And I started to do public speaking and engagements all over the world. So with that, I began to also take it into the legal realm as well and design legal trainings that educate attorneys or just people in the legal field or have an interest in the legalities of cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And my course, this Blockchain Certified Consultant course, the legal course, has 7.5 CLEs from the DC Bar. And I'm currently in talks with a major blockchain training organization to also bring that training to them and bring it to all over the US on their training platform. So I'm really excited about that.
So one of the things I'm just quickly going to mention, anything that we ever talk about on the GBA talk show, just like I say this on the CryptoMom2 side, nothing that we share is financial advice nor legal advice. It's all educational, and it's all to help you with your own research. So with those disclaimers out of the way, I'm very interested in learning more about why you decided to write the book, because I know that I have a copy of the book, and it's really, it has a lot of information that I did not know. And I know that the blockchain is changing so fast. So what motivated you to write the book?
So I wrote the book because this is actually my second book. My first book is called Diversify or Die. This is it right here. And that's going to become important in later conversations. But writing a book is the best way to get recognized as an expert, and especially in a new field, because you'll be coming in at the ground floor. And the book is the ultimate calling card. Before, when I was trying to break into public speaking, when I wrote Diversify or Die, because I also have a lot of diversity and inclusion experience, really wasn't able to break into the paid speaking field. I published Diversify or Die. It went to book awards, and next thing you know, I'm getting asked to speak, and they're actually paying me either honorarium or some type of speaking fees to speak at conferences and events. So I wrote the blockchain had died because I wanted to become an expert and a speaker in the cryptocurrency and blockchain field. So if anyone's listening, to this podcast, and they really want to, find one of the ways to become an influencer in this field, one way to do it is to actually, write a book. And I guess a good quality book. I mean, I've seen some folks write some books in the blockchain space that really weren't, enough quality for folks to take them seriously. So they published a book. Congrats to them. But if you really want to be recognized as a thought leader in the space, it has to be a really good quality book that receives awards and has very good Amazon rankings.
So what kind of research did you have to do for the book? Because I also know you're in the process of writing your second book of the Blockchain or Die series.
Correct. So the research, there was actually a number of different ways I researched it. And actually one of them was through GBA. I learned about GBA in 2017. Back then it was a meetup, and that's all it really was. It was just, Gerard and some of the other senior leaders very early on, arranging meetups and having speakers come in. So I joined very early on, and I realized I had a training program. I looked at the training. I said, well, I'm actually a certified training director, so I can help you with that. And I volunteered my time. And because my theory was, well, I would learn a whole lot from other people, as well as bring my skills to the table for them to learn from as well. So one research was just volunteering and being involved, and learning from other influencers. And then from that, I just began to continue to read other books and articles and blogs and listen to podcasts and watch YouTube channels. And I mean, quite frankly, for my second edition of Blockchain or Die, I'm doing the same thing. The difference is, the foundation is there for Blockchain or Die, and so is the expectations. Now I had to produce an even better product with even more I think influential and more impactful information for the reader to say, what, it's worth me buying this book.
So I know that we're both lawyers, and I know that you and I've had discussions about the changing nature of legislation, both at the federal side as well as at the state side. Are you going to be talking about that in your book, or what do you see the trends doing in that area?
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic question, because from the White House with the executive orders and the follow-up on the executive order, which just came out September 2022, to regulations and laws that are being proposed in federal agencies and Congress, statewide as well. Many states are doing things, like Wyoming is doing some great stuff, so is Delaware. Washington State now taxes, this is very late breaking, has a law that taxes NFT profits. So there's no way that I could be an attorney and be practicing law with the Cogent Law Group in this space and not include at least some level of legal and regulatory analysis in anything that I do. So it's in the book, it's in my trainings, it's in my speeches. And staying abreast of that is extremely important, not just, from the US side, but also globally as well. I mean, China, of course, has been shaking things up with their bans on cryptos and mining. And other countries like El Salvador has made it a Bitcoin their fiat currency. But, with the market going down, that's having some ramifications that were not expected. So there's a lot of moving parts in this from a global perspective, and you really have to stay in touch with all of them to create any products that are, high quality blockchain or cryptocurrency products in this space.
You mentioned the global aspect of it, and I think that's really important to discuss. I know you and I have talked about like you said, El Salvador, there's United Arab Emirates, there's China, there's a lot of different, Europe, there's a lot of different countries that are doing things. I know you've also traveled, and you're traveling both for your consulting as well as, for doing the research for the book. What do you think that there is a certain country that we, as the United States, we might want to be following the lead on, or to see what they're doing and maybe emulate that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'll answer that in two ways. And the first way is, I think that countries that have like El Salvador and the Marshall Islands, which is a small island country, that have wholly embraced cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, they're learning that, making Bitcoin the fiat currency for that country may not be the best idea. So I think embracing it, we can learn to embrace it from other countries. The bottom line is, one of the big concerns of a lot of regulators is that, there's scams out there, and there's folks that try and take advantage of other people. But there are scams in the stock market. There are scams in insurance. There are scams in everything. So, because it's a new technology, it's getting that heightened scrutiny. But at the same point in time, if they scrutinize it too high, they begin to chill the growth and the evolving of the technology. So it's a very delicate balance. So the one thing I'd say is, to learn from other countries that are embracing it, to embrace it with caution, but not over, regulate, or over hold back the progress. Just to put it in basic terms, hold back the progress of the cryptocurrencies. On the other side, and this is kind of related to what I just said, to not over-regulate, to not have the cryptocurrencies and blockchain, especially the cryptocurrency market, be over-regulated by regulations and investigations. Yes, protect the consumer. Yes, bring the bad actors to justice and make sure that they pay their payback retributions, or they reimburse investors for monies they've taken from them. Absolutely, I am 110% for that. But at the same point in time, don't over-regulate, and now you have new regulations that are going to keep the industry from evolving at the rate that it should.
Well, the other challenge that I have, and I think you and I've also talked about this, is that with regulations coming on board, those that were doing business under the old regulations, whether it's a lack of regulations or existing regulations, they might have been doing business in the proper way. Then all of a sudden, once new regulations happen, and if you're not current with what the new is, all of a sudden you are in violation of whatever the new regulations are. So like you said, it's hard to be in business development if you constantly are putting money towards compliance maintenance instead of the creativity that you want. So there's a fine line, and that's where someone like yourself, who's, it's hard for you. I'm sure it's hard for you to keep up with everything that's going on as well.
Well, it's definitely a challenge, but it's a challenge for everybody because it's moving so fast. For example, one of my clients had a blockchain, a product that they were putting out there, and they were going to be using wallets, and they were going to be using decentralized applications. So I asked them, I said, well, you're creating all these wallets, and you're going to be using it on a global stage. Have you registered with Department of Treasury, with the FinCEN department? And they were like, why would we do that? I said, well, because if you have a wallet that could be used globally, and your currency is attached, it could be used in and out of that wallet, foreign bad actors can use that wallet to launder money. And they hadn't even really thought about that before I mentioned it. And that put a whole new layer of legal and technology / coding that they had to figure out, because now they had to make sure that they registered with the Department of Treasury, and then to make sure that they put in the means to, not let wallets be downloaded from banned countries, number one. And number two, make sure they track where all the wallets being downloaded. So if the CATC, if the Department of Treasury came and talked to them about it, they could show the track record. And that wasn't in their previous financial, legal, or technology processes. So now, because I'm representing them, they now have their ducks in a row, and I'm very confident they will pass legal muster. But the vast majority of the blockchain companies out there, they're not doing this, and they need to understand that they need to have people like you and I on their team to keep them compliant. Because if they come knocking, if a federal regulator comes knocking on your door, and you don't have your ducks in a row, it's become much more problematic after the fact than if you prepared for it with one of us beforehand.
Yeah, and I know that you and I've also had these conversations, offline, about the fact that there are these companies who, in their excitement to create something, are creating tokens or creating currencies of some sort, but they're not really in full definition yet. And so again, there's so many layers that they're not thinking of the regulation side. They're in the excitement of, well, let's use this, let's do this with this, and let's do that with it. And then all of a sudden, the compliance side has to come into plays. Now that you have this, like you said, where are you registering it, and what is the full scope of this? So what have you found in terms of your experience on the blockchain with companies? I mean, when should they start thinking about the legal compliance side of it?
I'd say that they should be thinking about it very early on, but I said that the most important time to really give it consideration is when you're starting to raise money.
Yeah.
Because you need to either be registered as a security with the SEC, and now even the CFTC in some instances, or you need to submit for an exemption to be registered as a security. And it really depends on what type of security you're creating. I had a few clients that, I told them, listen, you need to file twice, once for the money you're raising from investors, and then two, after you create the token, if you're going to sell a token, that's another security. And they were flabbergasted by the fact they had to actually register twice. But when you think about it, it makes sense. If you're selling equity in your company, that's an investment. If you're going to be create the token, sell it as a cryptocurrency, and convey the reasonable expectation of profits in that sale of the cryptocurrency, that's an investment. So you really had to engage with legal counsel early on and make sure that you have the proper processes in place from a legal standpoint. And I'll add this. I mean, I read SEC enforcement actions all the time. Some of them are to the tune of $10 million. And I think to myself, if that company had come to someone like me or someone like you, and we had maybe charged them $30,000 or $40,000, for that representation, and it would have been registered and totally fine, they wouldn't be paying $10 million later on. So, the amount of money that, you're investing for the legalities of this is very small compared to some of the amount of money that some of these cryptocurrency companies, including some of my clients, are raising. So it's well worth the investment.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that there are companies who are US based, and there are companies that are outside the United States, and yet they might be doing business in the United States. So even those companies who are, whether you're US based or outside, you have to be thinking about, like you said, if the point of contact happens to be a person who happens to live in the United States or is a citizen of the United States, then they're going to be touching the United States and they need to be registered.
Right. One investor, one U.S. citizen as an investor brings you in SEC jurisdiction. So that's why it's so important to tell all the international folks I talk to, you have to really do heavy KYC to make sure that you're not selling it to a U.S. citizen. If you are, then you have to start registering or not take that investment.
Exactly. So I know that you're involved in a lot of different areas. More information to come on the NFT side, but for your clients, you've worked in the blockchain. So that kind of deals with coins, NFTs, metaverse. What kind of, who would you say, have you kind of had your finger in all these different areas? Or what have you done and what haven't you done yet?
So that's a great question, because it actually is kind of bridging, what I've done and what I'm going to do. In my next book, in Blockchain Die second edition, I have a chapter on NFTs and a chapter on the metaverse, because you really can't talk about the evolution of blockchain technology without including those two new, very fascinating and influential developments in blockchain technology. Now, I don't like to write about something I haven't done. I'm not a theoretical writer. I like to actually write about something that I have accomplished. So to that end, from my NFT chapter, I've been creating my own NFT that is going to be hopefully very influential, and actually brings in my past experience with diversity and inclusion and my experience with blockchain technology. I'm merging the two. So the NFT is actually called Diversify or Die. And I've learned so much about the NFT process by creating this NFT that, this chapter is going to be fantastic. And I say that because there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings out there about NFTs, the whole lot. And, this chapter in this book is going to debunk this. And it's also going to provide you with good hardcore advice on how to A, create an NFT if you want to, or B, how to better invest in an NFT if you're interested in investing in NFTs. And that's something I think that the community needs, because right now NFTs are way down, and they're way down because people can create an NFT out of nothing. They can go online, go to an NFT generator site, plug in some specifications into the NFT generator, and it produces some digitized NFT. But where's the creativity and uniqueness in that? Where's the value in that? All that is just people trying to make money off of this NFT portion that's a fad portion and cash into it. If you're going to create NFT, put some thought into it. Be unique, be creative, and actually add value somehow. You can even attach tickets, you can attach trainings, you can attach conferences, add some intrinsic value to your NFT, and that's going to make it much more successful. So I'm going to start preaching about NFTs now, but on Twitter, it's Diversify or Die. Follow that, and you'll learn more about that. Now to the metaverse. That is a whole nother ball of wax right there. And so I've been involved in the metaverse, not as much with NFTs, because NFTs have really been kind of keeping me very busy, but I have created metaverse accounts, and I have looked at how to buy property on metaverses. And actually working with one of my clients, we're talking about doing a metaverse training. So I have not had as much experience with that because I'm not writing that chapter yet, but I expect to be doing more about metaverse in the December timeframe, and ramping up on that very quickly.
You and I are very similar, because for those that have been following me, you might know that I wrote a fairy tale called The Bitcoin Cinderella, and the next two episodes of those books, like you, I like to have hands-on in order to be able to write. So the next book is about Bitcoin mining, and then the other book that I'm writing simultaneously is about NFTs. And like you, I created an NFT, and I also put the first book on OpenSea as an NFT. So again, there's a lot of things to be learned about doing it, and then also exploring the ins and outs of all the blockchain world. So I know we are primarily talking about you, and I want to make sure that we cover everything that you want to talk about. Any last minute thoughts, like now for those that are listening, that I'm always going to put the links in the blog below. But Eric, where would they find you, or how would they contact you to learn more about your books, or to reach out to you for consulting? How would you like them to reach out to you?
So thank you. I appreciate that, Jackie. So my email is Eric, Guthrie, Guthrie, at gbaglobal.org. That's my email. For social media, on Facebook, it's Blockchain or Die, just the title of the book, Blockchain or Die. And on Instagram, it's also Blockchain or Die. On Twitter, it's Diversify or Die. And on Telegram, it's Diversify or Die, just like the book, Diversify or Die. And that's because one thing I learned about NFTs is that, you know, for some reason, Twitter and Telegram and also as Reddit are also really, really big with anti-promotion. So I figured I would use, and I will do it on Facebook and Instagram as well, but I figure I'll make my primary vehicles for the NFTs, you know, Twitter and Telegram and Reddit, and the primary vehicle for the books to be Instagram and Facebook. So that's why there's two names, and they're interchangeable in terms of the content, but that's why there's, you know, two names for my social media presence.
It's all good. It's all good. So for anyone who's interested in learning more about Blockchain or Die, or Diversify or Die, or to reach out to Eric for consulting, because trust me, I know as an attorney, there are things that we know and there are things that we don't know, but there are always people we need on our team. And it's better to have someone on the team that knows. So that way, like Eric said before, you're not catching up and paying a bigger fine. So, you know, it's a preventative investment if you have the right people on your team. So everyone, I appreciate your being on. Definitely like and subscribe to the GBA Talk Show. And remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all part of one world, and it's a fascinating ride. So have a great day. Thank you so much.